When Caleb forgot their anniversary, again, Jace didn't say much. He didn't lash out or send long texts filled with disappointment. He simply replied with a heart emoji and let the silence stretch across time zones. It was easier that way. Cleaner. Less exhausting than pretending he wasn't slowly unraveling in a one-sided relationship. That Friday, with the pipes in his building burst and the wet ceiling dripping into his bedroom, Jace messaged Liam. "Any chance your guest room's still available?" Within minutes, Liam replied, "Of course, man. Come over. Stay as long as you need." By evening, Jace stood at Liam's doorstep, overnight bag in hand, hoodie zipped up despite the late spring warmth. He knocked once. It wasn't Liam who answered. It was Eli, older, broader, and quieter than his brother. Eli hadn't changed much since Jace saw him last, maybe 2 years ago. His gaze was steady, dark brown, unreadable. His T-shirt clung to the soft muscle of his chest, his expression unreadable but not unkind. "Jace, right?" Eli asked, stepping aside to let him in. "Yeah." "Hey," Jace said, brushing past him, careful not to make contact. Still, something electric prickled at the edge of his awareness. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and roasted chicken. Liam's voice rang out from somewhere down the hall. "You made it." They hugged quickly, easy, familiar, and Liam led him to the kitchen, pouring 2 sodas and sliding one across. Jace noticed Eli had returned, standing near the fridge, nursing a beer and saying nothing. "So," Liam said, plopping onto a stool, "what happened to your place?" "Plumbing exploded," Jace muttered. "Ceiling's raining." "Oof," Liam winced. "That sucks. Stay as long as you need." "Seriously." Jace smiled. "Thanks." Dinner was casual. Chicken and rice, nothing fancy. They ate while half watching a rerun of some crime show in the background. Eli spoke sparingly, his voice low, pace, but each comment he made was sharp, observant, a little too tuned into Jace's every move. At one point, Jace looked up from his plate to find Eli already watching him. Not glaring, not leering, just studying. Jace quickly looked away. By 10, Liam yawned dramatically. "Early shift tomorrow," he said. "Don't break anything. You too." With that, he disappeared into his room. Jace lingered in the living room a bit longer, scrolling through his phone. Still no messages from Caleb. He opened their old photos, ones from when they used to wake up in the same bed, before Caleb moved across the country for work. Back then, distance had seemed manageable. Now it felt like an excuse. "You good?" Eli's voice broke through the silence. Jace looked up. Eli stood by the archway, one hand against the frame, big on. He wore a different shirt now, gray, fitted, soft-looking. Jace didn't answer right away. "Yeah," he finally said. "Just tired." Eli nodded, then gestured to the hallway. "Need anything before I crash?" "Charger, extra blanket." "I'm good, thanks." "Guest room's just past mine," Eli added. "Door sticks a little. Slam it if you have to." Jace nodded. "Got it." Eli lingered a moment longer. Then, just as he turned to leave, he glanced back. "You shouldn't let someone treat you like they're too busy to care." Jace froze. Eli didn't elaborate. He just walked away. In the guest room, Jace unpacked slowly, fingers brushing over the soft cotton of the spare T-shirt he brought. His mind replayed Eli's last words. Not judgmental, just too knowing, too personal. The bed was surprisingly comfortable. Clean sheets, soft lamp glow, but sleep didn't come easily. Lying on his back, staring at the cracked ceiling, Jace thought of Caleb, of the distance, of how long it had been since he felt truly wanted. A quiet knock startled him. He sat up. The door creaked open, just an inch. Eli's voice followed, low and casual. "Hey, you got a charger? iPhone." Yeah," Jay said. He reached for it, stood, and opened the door wider. Eli stepped forward, their hands brushing during the exchange. "Just a second. Just enough." "Thanks," Eli said. Jace watched him walk away, calm and barefoot down the hallway. He closed the door slowly, leaning against it once it clicked shut. His heart was beating faster than it should. And he hadn't even done anything. Jace didn't sleep. Not really. He drifted somewhere between rest and hyper-awareness, his body still, his mind racing. Every time he closed his eyes, he replayed that moment at the door, Eli's voice, the brush of fingers, the charged silence. When dawn finally crept in, thin and pale across the curtains, Jace had made a decision. He would leave early, thank Liam politely, send a distant message to Caleb, and just disappear from the undercurrent he didn't trust himself to resist. But that decision evaporated when he heard the soft knock again, barely a tap, just after 6 a.m. He sat up, heart thudding. "Yeah," he called, voice still husky from sleeplessness. The door opened slowly. Eli stepped in, holding Jace's charger. "Figured I'd return this before I forget." Jace nodded. "Thanks." But Eli didn't move to leave. He leaned against the dresser instead, arms crossed, the morning light casting soft shadows on his collarbones. "You're up early," Jace said, trying to sound casual. "I don't sleep much," Eli replied. "Too many thoughts." "About?" Eli's eyes met his. "About the things people don't say, the moments they don't act on, the way to pretending." Jace's breath caught. "That's a lot for 6 a.m., he said, aiming for humor, but his voice trembled. Eli took a slow step forward. "Isn't it harder pretending you're okay with being ignored?" Jace stood, defensiveness flaring. "I'm not being ignored." "No." Eli's tone was calm, not mocking. He didn't call, didn't check in. "You're here, and you're not wearing that necklace you always wear in his photos." Jace glanced down involuntarily at the empty spot on his chest, then back up, bristling. "You're paying a lot of attention for someone who doesn't sleep much." Eli gave a small shrug. "You're hard not to notice." Silence settled like fog. Jay sat down slowly on the edge of the bed, gripping the sheets in his fists. He wanted to push Eli away with words, accuse him of crossing a line, of exploiting something, but all he could do was sit there and feel every molecule of his own loneliness rise to the surface. Eli didn't advance, didn't pressure. He simply said, "You deserve to be seen, Jace, not just tolerated." Jace looked up, pain and want swirling behind his eyes. "It's not that simple." "It is," Eli said softly. "You've just been in it so long, you forgot what simple feels like." Another pause. The air was tight with unspoken things. Then Jace stood again, chest almost brushing Eli's. "And what do you want me to do? Just forget about Caleb? Pretend this is normal?" Eli's reply was a whisper. "I want you to choose yourself for once." Jace stared at him, pulse hammering. He knew this was the edge, right here, right now. One word, one move, and everything shifted. "I shouldn't," Jace said, barely audible. Eli leaned in, not kissing, just close. His breath warm against Jace's cheek. "You haven't moved away." And Jace didn't. Their lips met, slow at first, testing, hesitant, but it deepened with every heartbeat, every inch of space closing between them. Jace let go. Of Caleb, of guilt, of everything. Just for a moment. When it ended, they didn't speak. Eli touched Jace's jaw lightly, then pulled back and left the room without another word. Jace sat down again, stunned, breathless, heart pounding in a way he hadn't felt in months. His phone buzzed. A message from Caleb. "Hey, babe. Sorry I crashed early last night. You okay?" Jace stared at the screen. Everything inside him twisted. The sunlight was cruel. It streamed through the guest room window, bright and accusatory, revealing everything Jace wished could stay buried under night. He hadn't replied to Caleb's message. He hadn't moved. The kiss with Eli replayed in his mind in fragments, his own hands trembling, Eli's breath steady, the silence afterward louder than any apology could have been. By the time he forced himself out of bed, Liam was already in the kitchen, whistling while he made coffee. Cheerful. Unaware. "Sleep okay?" Liam asked, sliding a mug toward him. Jace nodded, murmuring thanks. His fingers wrapped around the warm ceramic, grounding him. Eli was nowhere in sight. Liam talked about work, about his annoying co-worker, about plans to visit a beach town next month. Jace responded when he could, nodding, forcing the occasional smile. But inside, Something frayed. Midway through the conversation, Eli entered. Fresh from a shower, towel slung over his shoulder, he moved like nothing had happened. Calm. Controlled. His eyes flicked toward Jace once. Barely. And then he poured himself a glass of water. Jace couldn't breathe. The weight of what he'd done, what they had done, pressed down on him. Caleb wasn't perfect. Far from it. But he trusted Jace. And Jace had crossed a line he couldn't uncross. Liam stepped out to take a call, leaving the room suddenly too quiet. Eli leaned against the counter. You're leaving? Jace glanced up, startled. Yeah, I should. You don't have to. Jace looked at him then, truly looked. Last night wasn't supposed to happen. Eli's jaw tightened. No, but it did. I have a boyfriend, Jace said, more to remind himself than to reprimand Eli. Eli nodded, and has been treating you like a background task. That doesn't justify anything. Eli walked closer, slowly. It's not about justification. It's about what it made you feel. Did it feel like a mistake? Jace hesitated. His voice cracked when he answered. It felt like the only time I've been wanted in weeks. Eli's gaze softened. You were. I can't stay here, Jace whispered. Eli didn't argue. Jace returned to the guest room, packed silently. Every zipper, every fold of fabric felt like a layer of guilt being sealed tight. He took one last look at the bed, the room, the door that Eli had stepped through, and then walked out. Liam offered him a ride, but Jace declined. I need the walk, he said. At the door, Eli appeared again, alone this time. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Then Eli said, You'll hate yourself for this, but you'll remember every time you feel invisible again. Jace blinked back something sharp behind his eyes. You talk like you've done this before. Eli didn't deny it. People in pain find each other, even when they shouldn't. Jace opened the door. The world outside was too bright, too open. He took one step, then turned halfway. I won't pretend this didn't mean something. Eli held his gaze. It did. Jace walked down the steps, heart pounding with every step. He didn't know where he was going, just away. Away from the warmth, from the ache, from the truth that being wanted, even briefly, had made him betray someone he once believed he'd love forever. His phone buzzed again. Caleb, miss you. Call me later. Jace stared at it, then slipped it back into his pocket. He couldn't answer yet. Not until he figured out which version of himself was walking away from that house, and whether the man Caleb remembered still existed. Jace walking down the sidewalk, backlit by the rising sun, as text fades in. Sometimes, the deepest betrayals come from what we've been denied the longest, being truly seen.